I'm Zerlina Maxwell. I'm excited to celebrate 50 years of Toni Morrison's Bluest Eye, which feels especially relevant in 2020 because aren't we talking about identity and inclusion and feeling like we belong somewhere? In her loneliness, she turned to her husband for reassurance, entertainment, for things to fill the vacant places. Housework was not enough. There were only 2 rooms and no yard to keep or move about in. The women in the town wore high-heeled shoes, and when Pauline tried to wear them, they aggravated her shuffle into a pronounced limp. Charlie was kindness still, but began to resist her total dependence on him. They were beginning to have less and less to say to each other. We had no problem finding other people and other things to occupy him. Men were always climbing the stairs, asking for him, and he was happy to accompany them, leaving her alone. Pauline felt uncomfortable with the few black women she met. They were amused by her because she did not straighten her hair. When she tried to make her face as they did, it came off rather badly. Their goading glances and private snickers at her way of talking, saying children, and dressing developed in her a desire for new clothes. When Charlie began to quarrel about the money she wanted, she decided to go to work, taking jobs as the day worker helped with the clothes and even a few things for the apartment. But it did not help with Charlie. He was not pleased with her purchases and began to tell her so. Their marriage was shredded with quarrels. She was still no more than a girl and still waiting for that plateau of happiness, that hand of a precious Lord who, when her way grew dear, would always linger near. Only now she had a clearer idea of what drear meant. Money became the focus of all their discussions. Hers for clothes, his for drink. The sad thing was that Pauline did not really care for clothes and makeup. She merely wanted other women to cast favorable glances her way. After several months of doing day work, she took a steady job in the home of a family of slender means and nervous, pretentious ways. Charlie commenced to getting meaner and meaner and wanted to fight me all the time. I give him a good as I got. Had to. Look like working for that woman and fighting Charlie was all I did. Tiresome. But hold on to my jobs, even though working for that woman was more than a notion. It wasn't so much her meanness as just simple-minded. Her whole family was. Couldn't get along with another worth nothing. You'd think a pretty house like that and all the money they could hold on to, they would enjoy one another. Shawl off and cry over the leastest thing. If one of her friends cut her short on the phone, she'd go to crying. She should have been glad she had a telephone. I ain't got one yet. I recollect on set how her baby brother, who she put through dentistry school, didn't invite them to some big party he throwed. There was a big to-do about that. Everybody stayed on the phone for days, fussing and carrying on. She asked me, Pauline, what would you do if your brother had a party and didn't invite you? I said, if I really wanted to go to that party, I reckon I'd go anyhow. Never mind what he wants. She just sucked her teeth a little and made out like what I had said was dumb. All the while I was thinking about how dumb she was. Whoever told her that her brother was her friend? Folks can't like folks just because they have the same name, mama. The same mama. I tried to like that woman myself. She was about giving me stuff, but I just couldn't like her. As soon as I worked up a good feeling on her account, she'd do something ignorant and start into telling me how to clean and do it. If I left her on her own, she'd drown in dirt. I didn't have to pick up after chicken and pie the way I pick up after them. None of them knew so much as how to wipe their hands. I know because I did the washing and couldn't pee proper to save their lives. Her husband ain't hit the bowl yet. Nasty white folks is about the nastiest thing they is. But I would have stayed on accepting for Charlie come over by where I was working up in Cutup. He come there drunk, wanting some money. When that white woman see him, she turned red. She tried to act strong-like, but she was scared bad. Anyway, she told Charlie to get out, or she would call the police. He cussed her and started pulling on me. I would have gone upside his head. But I don't want no dealings with the police. So I taken my things and left. I tried to get back, but she didn't want me no more if I was going to stay with Charlie. She said she would let me stay if I left him. I thought about that. But later on, it didn't seem none too bright for a black woman to leave a black man for a white woman. She didn't never give me the $11 she owed me neither. That hurt bad. The gas man had cut the gas off, and I couldn't cook none. I begged that woman for my money. I went to see her. She was mad as a wet hen. Kept on telling me I owed her for uniforms and some old broken down bed she gave me. I didn't know if I owed her or not, but I needed the money. She wouldn't let up none neither. Even when I give her my word that Charlie, she wouldn't come back no more. Then I got so desperate, I asked her if she would loan it to me. She was quiet for a spell, and then she told me I shouldn't let a man take advantage over me. That I should have more respect, and it was my husband's duty to pay the bills. And if he couldn't, I should leave and get alimony. All such stuff. What was he gonna give me alimony on? I seen him. She didn't understand that all I needed from her was my $11 to pay the gas man so I could cook. She couldn't get that one thing through her thick head. Are you gonna leave him, Pauline? She kept saying. I thought she'd give him my money. If I said I would. So I said, yes, ma'am, all right, she said. You leave him and then come back to work and we'll let bygones be bygones. Can I have my money today? I said. No, she said. Only when you leave him. I'm only thinking of you and your future. What good is he, Pauline? What good is he to you? How are you going to answer a man like that? Who don't know what a good man is. Say out of one side of her mouth she's thinking of her future, but won't give you your own money so you can buy you something besides bologna to eat. So I said, no good, ma'am. He ain't no good to me. But just the same, I think I'd best stay on. She got up and I left. When I got outside, I felt pains in my crotch. I had held my legs together so tight trying to make that woman understand. But I reckon now she couldn't understand. She married a man with a slash in his face instead of a mouth. So how could she understand? One winter, Pauline discovered she was pregnant. When she told Charlie, he surprised her by being pleased. He began to drink less and come home more often. They eased back into a relationship more like the early days of their marriage when he asked if she were tired or wanted him to bring her something from the store. In the state of ease, Pauline stopped doing day work and returned to her own housekeeping. But the loneliness in those two rooms had not gone away. When the winter sun hit, the peeling green paint of the kitchen chairs, when smoked hocks were boiling in the pot, when all that she could hear was the truck delivering furniture downstairs. She thought about back home, about how she had been all alone most of the time then too, but that this loneliness was different. Then she stopped staring at green chairs at the delivery truck. She went to the movies instead. There in her dark memory was refreshed, and she succumbed to her earlier dreams. Along with the idea of romantic love, she was introduced to another physical beauty. Probably one of the most destructive ideas in the history of human thought, but originated in envy, thrived in insecurity, and ended in disillusion. In equating physical beauty with virtue, she stripped her mind, bound it, and collected self-contempt by the heap. She forgot lust and simple caring for. She regarded love as possessive mating and romance as the goal of the spirit. It would be for her a wellspring from which she would draw the most destructive emotions, deceiving the lover and seeking no imprison the beloved, curtailing freedom in every way. She was never able, after her education in the movies, to look at a face and not assign in some category in the scale of absolute beauty, and the scale was one she absorbed in full from the silver screen. There at last were the darkened woods, the lonely woods, the riverbanks, the gentle knowing eyes. There the flawed became whole, the blind-sighted and the lame, and halt threw away their crutches. Their death was dead, and people made every gesture in a cloud of music. There the black and white images came together, making a magnificent whole, all projected through the ray of light from above and behind. It was really a simple pleasure, but she learned all there was to love and all there was to hate. The only time I'd be happy seemed like when I was in the picture show. Every time I went. I'd go early before the show started. They'd cut off the lights and everything be black. Then the screen would line up and I'd move right on them and in them pictures. White men taking such good care of the women, they all dressed up in big clean houses with the bathtubs right in the same room with the toilet. Them pictures gave me a lot of pleasure, but made coming home hard and looking at Charlie hard. I don't know. I remember one time I went to see Clark Gable and Jean Harlow. I fixed my hair up like I'd seen hers on a magazine, a part on the side with one little curl on my forehead. It looked just like her. Well, almost just like. Anyway, I sat in that show with my hair done up and that way and had a good time. I thought I'd see it through to the end and again, and I got up and get me some candy. And I was sitting in the back seat, and I'd taken a big bite of that candy and pulled a tooth right out of my mouth. I could have cried. I had good teeth, not a rotten one in my head. I don't believe I'd ever did get over that. There I was, 5 months pregnant, trying to look like Jean Harlow, and a front tooth gone. Everything went then. Looked like I didn't didn't care no more after that. I let my hair go back, plaited it up, and settled down to just being ugly. I still went to the pictures though, but the meanness got worse. I wanted my tooth back. Charlie poked fun at me, and we wanted fighting again. I tried to kill him. He didn't hit me too hard because I was pregnant, I guess, but the fights once they got started up again kept up. He began to make me madder than anything I knowed, and I couldn't keep my hands off him. Well, I had the baby, a boy, and after that, got pregnant again and with another one. But it weren't like that, I thought. It was gone be. I loved them and all, and I guess, but maybe it was having no money, or maybe it was Charlie. But they sure worried the life out of me. Sometimes I'd catch myself hollering at them and beating them, and I'd feel sorry for them, but I couldn't seem to stop. When I had the second one, a girl, I remember I'd said, I'd love it no matter what it looked like. She looked like a black ball of hair. I don't recollect trying to get pregnant that first time, but that second time I actually tried to get pregnant. Maybe because I had already had one already and wasn't scared to do it. Anyway, I felt good and wasn't thinking on carrying just the baby itself. I used to talk to it while it still be in the womb, like good friends we was. You know, I be hanging wash, and I know lifting weren't good for it. I'd say to it, halt on now. I'd gone up these few rags. Don't get foggy. It'd be over soon. It wouldn't leap or nothing. The young ones smiled a little. They looked at my stomach and between my legs. They never said nothing to me. Only one looked at me. Looked at my face, I mean. I looked right back at him. He dropped his eyes and turned red. He knowed, I reckon, that maybe I weren't no horse foaling. But them others, they didn't know. They went on. I see them talking to them white women. How you feel? Gonna have twins? Just shucking them, of course. A nice talk, nice friendly talk. I got edgy, and when them pains got harder, I was glad to have something else to think about. I moaned something awful. The pains wasn't as bad as I let on, but I had to let them people know having a baby was more than a bowel movement. I hurt just like them white women. Just because I wasn't hooping and hollering didn't mean I wasn't feeling pain. What they think? Just because I knowed how to have a baby with no fuss, that my behind wasn't pulling and aching like theirs? Besides, that doctor don't know what he's talking about. He must never seed no mare foal who say they don't have no pain. Just because she don't cry, because she can't say it, they think it ain't there? If they look in her eyes and see them eyeballs, LOLing back, see the sorrowful look, they'd know. Anyways, the baby come. But big old healthy thing, she looked different from what I thought. Reckon I talked to it so much more before I conjured up a mind's eye view of it. So when I seed it, it was like looking at a picture of your mama when she was a girl. You knows who she is. But she don't look the same. They gave her to me for a nursing, and she liked to pull my nipple off right away. She caught on fast, not like Sammy. He was the hardest child to feed. But Bacola looked like she knowed right off what to do. A right smart baby she was. I used to like to watch her. You know they makes them greedy sounds. Eyes all soft and wet. A cross between a puppy and a dying man. But I knowed she was ugly. Head full of pretty hair. But Lord, she was ugly. I think my words of inner wisdom for girls would be to stand true in your power and know that you are powerful even if you don't have money, if you don't have status, if you don't have the things that people think go along with you having power. You have the power of your voice, you have the power of your vote, you have the power to say no, and utilize that power. And that's what I would say to my inner girl is, honey, you don't know how powerful you are.
People